Today, we've got a really exciting conversation lined up. Joining me are Bill Demaree and Aaron Blount from Tom Wood, and we're talking about something big they've just launched, Tom Wood University. They've officially kicked off a state-funded certified program that brings 18 high school students into their facility 5 days a week to get hands-on experience in the automotive field. They even brought on an instructor with 15 years of high school teaching experience and another 5 years at a tech school to lead the program. It's dual credit, it's industry backed, and it's exactly the kind of initiative our industry needs to build the next generation of technicians. We're going to dive into how they made it happen, what it took to get that state approval, and what they've learned so far from launching this program. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good, thanks.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
Bill, you've been on a few times. Aaron, this is your first time. Do you have any advice, Bill, for Aaron as we go through this podcast?
You know, it's easy because we're all passionate about what we do. And when you're passionate about something, we're going to have a conversation that's going to end in a little bit. And you're like, oh my gosh, I thought we just started.
Feels like that every time I talk with you, Bill. So this will be fun to bring Aaron into the equation. Let's get to know you a little bit, Aaron. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Grew up working on cars, and my parents made me go to college, so I went to college to be a teacher. And then when I graduated, it just all came together. So,
how did that conversation go with your parents? Was this something where you were kind of fighting against them in this decision, or was it like, hey, no, I just know I'm going to college?
Well, it was a bit of a miracle that I had the grades out of high school to go to college, but yeah, I was definitely fighting them about it. I'm not a bookworm. I'm more blue collar than that. So it was an uphill battle for sure.
So you went into teaching. Was it going into teaching with the intent of sticking in the automotive world, or were you going a different route?
I'm not sure I had intent, but
yeah,
I went to school for technology education, so that's pretty broad. And I could, I figured I could teach whatever from there if I had to. So.
And what was your first teaching job then?
Frankfort High School here in Frankfort, Indiana. So,
all right.
Yeah, straight out of college, they had an automotive opening, and they ran their own automotive program, and I stepped right in.
Was it intimidating? Like when you go in, because the way I look at it, and I say, one thing I don't think teachers get enough credit for is just truly standing up in front of students, because I can stand up in front of a crowd of business people and speak no problem. Put me in front of a group of students and I get a little nervous because you don't, you have all the side conversations going on. You have, I remember what I was like as a high school student. I would have not liked to present in front of me. So was it a little intimidating when you get up front for the first time?
Oh, at first, for sure, because I was 21 years old and some of my students were 18, So,
oh my.
Yeah. And, it's a little intimidating at first, but.
Is it hard to hold people responsible that are just a few years younger than you? I mean, it's got to be, when you're that young, having that kind of presence in a room, it's got to be a little challenging.
Yeah, luckily I'm in charge of their grade, so.
It made it a little bit easier then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you start off teaching in a high school, eventually end up at a tech school. What led you to that tech school?
I love teaching in high school. Honestly, the school corporation messed up the calendar, and they were going to have me teach automotive classes in 50-minute chunks. And I told everybody with ears that wasn't going to work, and it didn't matter. They changed the schedule anyway. So.
No kidding. Yeah. When you go down that road, who are you trying to convince? Is it the school board? Is it like a superintendent? Like who's trying to change that?
I started with the principal, and then up to the school board. The school board changed it because they were on a funny schedule anyway. But then, automotive programs in high schools are Perkins funded a lot of times, so they get federal money, and they saw an opportunity to put more butts in seats, regardless of curriculum and opportunity for the kids. So
that drives me crazy. We have the same thing happening here locally in Wisconsin, where we've gone to a lot more of the block scheduling. And I know, just dealing with our local high schools here, that's provided a bunch of challenges or posed a bunch of challenges for a lot of our educators, because what's ultimately end up happening is you've got a bunch of people that aren't even interested in your program showing up because they need an elective class. And so they're taking the seats of people that actually want to be in your program, and it's just not working at all.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about what we have right now, because we have students from all over Hamilton County, which is a suburb county of Indianapolis, and I think we work with 6 or 7 different high schools, and they're great. They send me their students for half a day, and they make it fit their schedule, even with the different vacations. The students are dedicated and show up, so it's been pretty great with what we have now.
I can't wait to hear more about this, because what you're putting together, what you've put together, is phenomenal. Bill, I want to go back to you here and talk through kind of the why. Like, when you started thinking about this and in really putting together something as unique as Tom Wood University, as challenging, I think, in putting together a program like this, there's a lot that goes into it. Let's start with the why. What led you to want to do this in the first place?
You know, I've been in this business a long time, like 39 years, I think. And I've always heard since like day one, there's a shortage in technicians. And I think we can all sit and agree there's a shortage in technicians, but what are you doing about it? And are we trying to hire the next best guy on deck? And we all have, we're running ads, we're spending a lot of money advertising, trying to find somebody across state lines, and we're fishing in different areas, but we're all doing that. So I don't know, it's probably 6-7 years ago, Jeff Wood and I had a very frank conversation about creating this classroom type style, and how can we train our own? How can we have a school? And as I've gone to a couple of 20 groups, I've talked to some buddies that are doing quite that. And they're like, yeah, well, Bill, we're doing it. So I flew down to North Carolina. I looked at the Capital Group. I watched what they were doing and saw the classroom that they had prepared. And I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I was at the Warren Henry Group down in Miami. They have an awesome, class there. And I'm like, why can they figure it out? I can't. So we started going down that path, probably 4 years ago, and we stumbled. I mean, we tried to build our own thing and kind of get our own certifications and stuff. And to where we are today, we're very fortunate. We teamed up with Pursuit, Indiana, to help us on the state certification. And it was probably 1.5 years ago when we met and started like getting really serious. Like, we have to do this. And Pursuit was fantastic on kind of helping us through all the legalities and the paperwork and, signing this. And it honestly came down to the wire. Like, I had to find an Aaron, and I didn't have one. And we talked about some of our senior techs that are looking for, a slowdown. I'm like, this is great. I had one, and he finally told me, he says, I don't want to teach kids. At kind of last minute. And so, it was just fortunate, the timing. I was introduced to Aaron. I think we hit it off from a passion standpoint of what we're trying to accomplish. I'm like, do you want to join me in making something just really great and awesome for our group? And he was all in really quick. And Jeff Wood, I just can't say his name enough. He supports this, and it starts with him. And he's allowing us to do what we want to do. And if you think about how many times we talked about where are these technicians going to come from, and now we have a pool from several high schools that have kids jumping up and down saying, oh my gosh, I really want to learn the automotive space. I really want to be in that space. So now I feel like we've become the career center for them. And now they can come to us, and we're training them, I feel, the right way and hands-on in the store, and I'm paying them. So that's the other thing is, if you're in high school and you're in our program at Tom Wood, we're paying you to come to this classroom, and we're giving incentives and tools and uniforms and all kinds of fun stuff to really grow this program. We started with 17, we're up to 20.
Right, I said now. 18 to start. I was wrong.
Well, it grew, and the word started getting out. We actually had a student for 2 weeks that wasn't supposed to be with us, but he's like, hey, my buddy's in the program, I'm going to go. And it took a while for the school to realize, where's this kid at? So it's I'm telling you, I'm on cloud nine that we have finally been able to launch this and have something really special we're putting together.
I want to take a minute. You were talking about the importance of ownership buy-in to something like this. And I don't want to skim over that, because I think that's a really, really important piece. It can be really easy. And I think a lot of our industry is guilty of this, of looking for that really immediate short-term ROI of like, hey, I just need text. I just need text.
Yeah.
But similar to what you were saying, I think if most dealers or shops in general were honest with themselves and they look back over the last 10 to 20 years and said, okay, how often are we looking for text? We're constantly looking for text. Like we're constantly struggling with this. And putting together a program like this, you don't get that immediate ROI. You don't get that immediate satisfaction that you would with a, hey, I got an A-level tech that came in and they're knocking out work like crazy. But what you're creating is something that, in my eyes, is very sustainable for the future. And you're building a foundation that is healthy. And it's not just relying on poaching people from other groups or other shops. It's truly bringing people up with your values. We've talked before on prior podcasts about your values and how important, the right people are to you. Now you get a chance foundationally to mold these folks from a young age into those values, right? So talk to me a little bit about looking, or maybe I'll rephrase that a little bit. I want to ask you about, is this always been in your eyes a long-term play, and how do you get around that immediate ROI conversation?
It is a long-term play, but it's an investment. And again, if you look at the financial burden of paying a significant amount of hiring bonuses, and you're trying to move somebody here from a different state, or you're continuing that battle of the market, what is the cost of that? If you can defer that cost and then bring somebody from high school in, teach them your core values, teach them the automotive space, and let's be real, they might not all want to be technicians. Maybe they want to sell cars, maybe they want to go into IT, maybe they want to go into HR, maybe they want to go into sales. All these other opportunities that we have within our organization that we can fill. We have 1,184 current employees as a group. So 20 technicians that are, I just had a meeting this morning with one of our stores technicians, and he asked, how soon will these kids be ready to go? I have a need. And, I tell them to breathe. They're still in high school. But I said, look at this year, we're going to have 17 of them starting in May, ready to be in shops in May, because they've finished the first year of all the classroom stuff, and then it's hands-on, and they're going to be, out of the bays. We have 3 seniors currently that's in the class, so they're in the shops. They're going to graduate, and when they graduate, we're very hopeful. One of us identified Porsche brand. I think the other 2 right now are at Ford. Is there a brand that connects with them? So you're starting to fill in these pieces of the future, and when you have an owner that gets that, I mean, think about the days are long, the years are short. It's going to come before we know it. We're going to be like, oh my gosh, where we're going to play 17. So I also understand that we're going to be supporting the market, not just Tom Wood, right? So these individuals, not all of them are going to land at Tom Wood. Not all of them, maybe want to stay in this space. And some of them might go to some of our competition, but we're creating a marketplace for technicians within the Tom Wood group that we are going to teach them our core values, teach them right from wrong, and why it's important to do certain things. So as a senior in high school, I think they're going to be more developed than graduating from some of the local automotive colleges that we have.
And a big part of it is these students find out what they don't like. They think they want to turn wrenches, and then they come be a technician with me and at a shop for a while. And if they find out they don't like that in high school, that's great on both people's ends. Tom Wood isn't hiring them as technicians that don't want to be technicians. And then the students find out while it's free in high school class, that they don't like it. So yeah, it's
what a good point.
yeah.
I mean, that right there, I think one says that you care about people, not just the bottom line. Right. And I think when you look at that, there's been times throughout my career where I think we've all seen that kid that comes into the industry, buys that $10,000 box, buys a bunch of tools, and goes to school, pays a boatload to go to school, and then is in the industry for a year and says, this isn't for me. That I always feel terrible about that, because then to me, that could have been prevented. And just like you said, Aaron, if you put them through the paces and they find out that this isn't the right career field for them, you're doing them a huge favor for their life in general. And the same goes for maybe that other student that does love this industry, and it gives them the ability to get in, get hands-on, get some education earlier than maybe they could have otherwise, and get a really quality education of applicable stuff that they're going to see once they do get in the shop. I tell you what you just said there, Aaron, about the early age impact is so big, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it saves the dealerships that are hiring technicians, because they're not hiring technicians that don't know if they like it or not. So
Right.
yeah, it's good both ways.
Well, and Bill, the one thing I'll pick out of what you said there too is that I think you're realistic enough to know that every student that goes through this isn't going to be a technician, right? Like, I think that's really honest, good thinking, because it's realistic, and it's not, hey, every single one of these are better work for us, and if they don't, they're they're not worthy. I think having that mindset of the greater good ultimately does pay off for Tom Wood at the end, right? Because you are putting more technicians in. Hey, if one of them goes to that competitor, it's less likely that they're coming and trying to take another tech from us too, right? Like, it's just, I think, a healthier foundational way to approach this in a more macro level view of this entire thing than a lot of people have. And so just give you a lot of credit for that piece right there.
Well, and I think that, and we have to be prepared for that as well. So, I'm going to say version 2 coming soon is we're working on some entry-level service advisor training classes. Within RockEd, we just launched. We're really excited. Actually launched today the new Tom Wood onboarding platform through RockEd. It's filmed here. It's our process. And next stage is service advisor process that's going to go in RockEd. So you take that training, you bring it in through even this classroom, and they're in dealerships, so they see the guys behind the desk. Listen, I was a technician for all of about 30 days, and I saw the guys up, behind the desk. Like, I want to do that, and there's going to be that. And if we're not prepared for that, they're going to go somewhere else, or they're going to stumble across everybody, or this or that. So we want to be prepared for that as well, and offer the whole gamut of opportunity in this automotive space that we have.
That's a big part of it too, because they're in the dealership learning. So they see the service advisors, they see all the other roles. They're not just in a, tech school classroom learning about fuel delivery. They see the whole scope of everything. So
I think that takes away some of the intimidation of coming into a dealership too, right? And
Right.
I've talked a lot with people about that in the past. Bill, I think you and I have talked about that in the past. I remember going off to tech school, and I would drive by a big dealership group here in Wisconsin, and they're clients of ours now. And I tell them about this all the time I used to drive by and dream about working there, but I never would step foot in there because they were terrifying to walk into. Huge, beautiful facilities. And here I am, 18 years old driving past, I'm not going in there. So the fact that you can get them in, get them familiar with the culture, make it less intimidating, I think is a huge advantage.
Oh, just the other day I had students, they were doing something and they needed a specialty tool. So they went and asked one of the techs if they could borrow it. The tech looked at him and just said, "Tool truck comes on Friday." Just giving them a hard time. So yeah, they're already used to that stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, just the shop atmosphere as a whole, it is real, and not doesn't always go according to, like, if you're at a tech school, there's a little bit of a different a different feel there.
Yeah.
For sure. Did you know that WrenchWay has partnered with ASE to grow School Assist? It's a free solution designed to help auto, diesel, and tech ed programs connect with local shops and dealerships. Thousands of schools across the country have used School Assist to get resources and support, including tool and equipment donations, advisory committee members, shop tours, guest speakers, and much more. With School Assist, WrenchWay and ASE are making it easier to bring education and industry together to promote and improve technician careers in automotive and diesel. School Assist will always be free to schools to help them connect students with the industry and get the resources they need. To learn more and sign up, visit wrenchway.com/school-assist. Link is also in the show notes. Now, I want to talk, going back to kind of the initial stage of this. When you're putting this together, what was important to you to have in curriculum and really to try? I'm guessing a lot of these students are coming from different backgrounds and might have different levels of exposure to anything mechanical. How do you kick off a curriculum for something like this? That seems like a big job.
Yeah, you have to start from the bottom for sure. And it's kind of tedious for the kids that are, hobbyists turning wrenches and stuff. When I show them the difference between a metric and a standard bolt, they kind of roll their eyes, but some kids need to know that. And it's so we start from the ground up, very basics.
Have you had, I've heard this from multiple high school teachers right now, that they were having to teach some of their kids the difference between like a Phillips and flathead screwdriver, like that elementary. And, I think when you hear those kinds of things, it gives you even more appreciation to what you're doing and bringing these people in, because it is, you're maybe starting from scratch with a lot of them.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff works itself out. We do a lot of hands-on stuff, and, they work in groups. One kid says, hand me a 19 millimeter, socket on a ratchet. And if he hands him a wrench, the kids kind of give each other a hard time, but yeah, they kind of learn on the fly, a lot of those basics, but
Aaron's done a nice job of writing the curriculum as well, and I've been really impressed with the material that he's putting out to get in front of them and teach them at a higher level.
How do you do that, Aaron? How do you take what you want them to ultimately be once they're in the shop, and we just talked about what you're starting with. Like, how do you write a curriculum to get them from here to there?
Part of it, we have some milestones we have to hit through our university dual credit agreement. So I have some guidelines there, but I ask a lot of the advisors and I ask a lot of the managers, what do you guys see the new technicians, what do they need to know? So yeah, we spent 3 weeks testing voltage drops just because it's not in the repair manuals very much, and the new techs don't really know how to do it. So yeah, I ask around. I see what new technicians need to know a lot.
How do you land home voltage drop? I feel like a lot of people would love to know that. That might be the secret to developing technicians.
Well, we're doing practicals today, so I'll let you know maybe tomorrow.
It is cool, though, because just being able to go and talk to your other teammates within Tom Wood to say, what are we lacking on? What are we missing on? You're able to do that in a way that isn't just at an advisory committee meeting at like a tech school, right? Like you're right. Able to get that real-time feedback of, hey, we're struggling in this area. We need some help here. I have to believe that's a huge benefit to doing what you're doing.
Oh, huge. I don't have to sit around and wait on an email to come back from some faceless person. I ask, I just walk into the dealership and ask, So it's fantastic.
So where is this at? Is this give me an idea, maybe geographically, physically, give me an idea of what Tom Wood University is.
So I'll tell you where it is today and what my vision is for the future. So
all right.
Today we're housing it in our Ford store. Our Ford store has 54 bays. And so there's a lot of space there. We have express, we have large trucks, a big truck shop as well, and a good amount of volume. And upstairs, the sales BDC center that's never been used, by the way, we took it over and we set it up as a really awesome classroom. And it's upstairs. It's kind of out of the way, but the lab's right downstairs. So we allocate a bay for them to use, and they can come downstairs, and we can fit the amount of students in the current space. But we already are seeing a waiting list for next year for our program. So the schools are already saying there's a lot of interest. We believe upwards of 50 students on deck for next year. Not sure how to handle that yet. Aaron and I got to talk and figure it out. But I did ask for a commitment from our fearless owner, Jeff Wood. I said, if we can do what I want to do with this, will you build me a school? And I want a school not just for technicians, but service advisors, sales, F&I, leadership, and start thinking about all of the areas of opportunity within our organization. If we can build a school, buy an old building, do something to be able to land this into in a very close proximity, I think it's going to benefit us in the long run.
Well, and as you guys are talking about this, I mean, as you expand your relationships with these high schools and you expand the awareness that you have a program in the first place, I have to imagine the sky's the limit in terms of what you could get for enrollment, right? Like I don't know what your goals are in terms of enrollment, but it feels like you guys are onto something that could be really, really big.
Yeah. And yeah, I went to a career fair at a local high school just last week, and I heard word that one of the other big automotive dealers in town is going to copy what we're doing. So after they talked to me at the career fair, so
now it's going to be a competition to get to the high schools and get those affiliations as well. It's almost like college football.
You know what though? At the end of I think there's plenty to go around. I do, and I think that's great. If our competitors want to try to do what we're doing, it took us years to develop it. Made a ton of mistakes, early on, learned from it. But here's where we're at today. So, if they can come and support it, it's needed. The industry's needed.
Well, and I think this might be even more outside thinking, and I'm sure you've already had these thoughts, but it does provide another career path for technicians within your organization as well, right? If you've got maybe that technician that does have a desire to train others and wants to be involved in the education side, hey, look, here all of a sudden is another route that you could go. It feels like that's a really nice additional benefit to having a program like this.
I was just approached this morning by one of our younger technicians at one of our stores. He's been with us probably 8 to 10 years. He's a master tech, and he has such a desire to teach others. And he's always asking, how's this university? How are the kids doing? How's it going? Is there a spot for me down the road, 2 to 3 years? Can I be a teacher? So there is a lot of interest, and it's not for everybody. And as we have some of our aging techs, I'm finding they don't want to deal with the younger generations, but they're so smart. The talent that's in their brain. If we can, get as much of that out of them as we can for the younger generations. We feel like it starts with Aaron, and then it's going to cascade down to different levels of, you think about electrical, you think about EVs, you think about, steering, suspension, have specialty, courses that we're teaching. And it could be even our own current technicians. Hey, let's have a certification, a Tom Wood certification through RockEd, through your class. And we have a certified program for suspension. And then we have somebody teaching that class, and it could be one of our part-time technicians.
You just hit on something there. I was just at a tech school advisory committee last week, and one of the things that came up were the different technologies that are coming and evolving. And for those tech schools that are out there, I feel bad for them in this sense that you're trying to squeeze so much into 2 years, and you're trying to either get rid of classes that are no longer relevant, but then squeeze something like ADOS in, where ADOS could be its own program for probably multiple years, right? Because there's so much complexity there. And so you're trying to fit this into, this very specialty thing with a lot of technology into a very short period of time, to the point to where their conversation really surrounded, we're just going to do an intro class to this. We're not going to teach any specialty in it. We're going to kind of lay out why it's important and what it is and all of that fun stuff, and then allow the shops to be able to take whatever training from there on. So as you're talking about this, I do see in the future where there's going to be a forced need for specialization, even more than we have today, right? Where you do have that truly ADAS specialist, and the more you can kind of get to them at a younger age and teach them that feels like another great opportunity, another career path for technicians as well.
And that's a big thing we do when we develop curriculum. I'm trying to give them the knowledge and skills that they can build on. I can't teach them everything. You know, they're only with me for half a day for a year. But if I teach them how the systems work, if I teach them the basic principles of, you know, electrical and basic principles of how engines work, then when they get in the field, you know, technicians do continuous training all the time, then they have the skills to build on. Because, yeah, I have to be realistic. I can't teach them everything. I don't know everything.
Well, I think that's a nice segue into kind of the mentorship part then, right? And how do you take them? ASE's got a stat that I think roughly 42% of techs leave within the first couple of years out of tech school, right? Because, you know, maybe they're lacking that mentorship or that onboarding, that, you know, that those early days of getting into the shop and getting confident and getting comfortable. How do you take this that you're piecing together on the university side and be able to ensure that it's a smooth transition into the shop?
Yeah, so their second year, their senior year with us, they do an internship. And they have freedom. They can pick which dealership, which brand they want to go to. If they're not having a good time at this one, they can go with a different technician or to a different dealership and work. But the internship piece of it's big for that. That keeps them not just interested, but gives them a good feel for how things can be different from place to place. So.
It's funny that you say that, because I remember early days in a shop for me, and even just in my career in general, you would find these people that you'd get comfortable with, right? Like where they had been in this world for several years, if not several decades. And for whatever reason, your personality would happen to just mesh with like maybe somebody that doesn't even make sense as to why it would mesh, but it did. I've got a pretty good story. Like when I had first started, there was an older technician that worked with me, and he did not like me right from the start. And so I kept chipping away at him. I'd walk by his toolbox, and then he was kind of by a break room where there were steps up to, and then it got to the point to where my goal was just to make him crack a smile, because I was like, he doesn't like me yet, but he's going to like me eventually. So then I started saying, I'll call him out, Dave. I would start going up the steps a little bit more each day and say, hey, Dave. And then I finally was getting like so obnoxiously up the steps that he finally had to crack a smile. And then from then on, it was like, he was awesome. Right. I think there are a lot of opportunities for that. If, you know, maybe a young tech isn't fitting with the shop, to be able to go try another shop and see if there might be that personality that just meshes with them. Because I think for a young person, when you come into any business, that initial intimidation or just kind of just awkwardness, like if you can find somebody that can make you feel a little comfortable, that can mean night and day. That could mean you staying in the industry versus you not staying in the industry.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of young technicians leave the industry because they're in the wrong spot, not the wrong role. So,
yeah, and I think having, you know, our own instructor on board that's bouncing in and out of stores, especially as we progress down this, it's a comfort zone. It's somebody, you know, they're having a tough day or they're having a tough problem. They've got somebody to reach out to, a mentor within our organization that they can relate to. I've watched Aaron go into our Audi store recently, and it was an ex-student from his prior job that jumped up and down when they saw him. Like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? What are you doing in my shop? And didn't know he worked for us at the time. So that's great. Those relationships are just going to help. Again, that retention, I think, of a comfort zone for these guys. And they might tell him something. They're not going to tell their boss, hey, I'm not comfortable with, you know, this or that. You know, can you help me?
Bill, how do you manage expectations when, you know, you just talked about how you've already got some of your service leaders in different stores saying, hey, how fast can you get me these young people to fill our roles? But I have to imagine there's a little bit of a challenge in setting the expectation of capabilities when they're coming in, right? I think that's one of the things in our industry that is a little unhealthy, is that even out of trade school, you'll get a service manager thinking that you're going to get this advanced level tech coming into your shop, when in reality they've got the basics. They just, they have an understanding of things, but it's going to be a bit before they're a truly productive tech. How do you manage that?
I can tell you how I hope to manage it. My goals are, next year we have these 17 seniors. 17 seniors are in lab, means they're in our stores. The hope is that we can spread them around to brands that maybe they think they might want to look at. While they're there, I'm hopeful that we can get them engaged in the OEM training. So if they're at Subaru, let's get a level 1 Subaru training going, and let's just start taking some of those courses and understanding the brand. That way, so they've got a little bit of hands-on. They've got still what Aaron's given them. They've got the OEM side of it, so they're starting to get a little excited about Express. We're working really extremely hard to mimic the Express Center that we have specifically at our Subaru store. Subaru, in my opinion, has by far right now the best process of any Express. So we're documenting that currently, and we're training that and starting to sprinkle it around some of our other stores. So by the time these students are done, they're going to go and hit that type of Express. And then we have at all of our stores, how do I go from Express level 1 to make it to Express level 2, to make it to the main shop, to make it to all these certifications? How do I become a master tech? And there's a timeline, and there's a pay structure, and there's certainly things, expectations that we have that you have to obtain to get from bucket to bucket. So by doing that, I think the expectation of them coming out of this program might be a little higher than somebody coming out of, say, a local trade school, because you don't know what you have. You don't know what they've trained in. Are they still rebuilding heads and carburetors? I don't know. But I know when they come out of Aaron's class, we have a pretty good idea. Not to mention, we're paying them for that senior year. So it's a paid internship. While they're in high school, they're getting paid, and it gives them the opportunity to raise their hand and say, I want to work part-time outside of school for Saturdays, evenings, or whatever. And then you start seeing the guys that are really wanting to get engaged in it. And then by the time they graduate, I think we can have them at a pretty solid level 1 Express lane.
And I don't even know, I don't think I told Bill this, but I've already got my students doing that Subaru Express process. So
that's how well you know Bill. You read his mind and you started doing it. Aaron, kind of in the same, I guess, area or same topic. What advice do you have for maybe your service managers? And this might not just be a Tom Wood thing in general, right? This could be any service manager that's out there. What advice would you give them about managing a young person coming into their group?
Yeah, that is a little different, because their skill set's going to be the same as an entry-level technician. Their knowledge is going to be the same, but they are young, 17, 18-year-old kids. So it's different navigating that. And unfortunately, it's different navigating their parents too, because their parents are still pretty involved in their life. So.
Are you having them come into the interview with them, or how does that work?
We will. When we select our new students, we're going to meet the parents too.
And we did this time as well, and it was really great to have the support of the parents. We brought them all in for an open house at the Ford store, showed them the location, kind of talked a lot about the history of Tom Wood and what we have to offer. We are putting together a tool program. We have a uniform program put together. So our goal is they can graduate high school with a paid internship, with no debt, with actual hands-on skilled training, and we will provide their entry-level tools. And as they continue growing, we're going to add on to these things. And so my goal is they can look behind and not have the debt, not have the stress of all of that behind them, and allow us to take care of all of that, get that away. Let's just focus on your education and your career and help you grow through it. Again, with the support of Jeff Wood, I can do these things.
Yeah, special shout out to Jeff Wood, because without him, none of this happens. So Jeff, lot of credit to you and everything that you're doing within the organization. You mentioned tools. Walk me through that a little bit.
So we have teamed up with a couple different tool suppliers, and we have some sets that we're using right now that are working really well. What we want to create is a rolling cabinet with a level 1 tool kit. That level 1 kit is the kit they use while they're in the university. And then when they graduate as a senior, we double that tool. So we'll double the box. So it's everything they need to work in one of our stores. And then my goal is a timeline. You know, every year, every 2 years, there's an add-on. There's dollars available for them to continue adding more tools. What I don't want, and it's just my preference, I don't want to see the big white tool truck pull up out front and they get addicted to a weekly payment of these massive tools. We have tool boxes in every dealership already, so you don't need to buy a big roll around box. We have them. So if we can supply the rest of the tools. Now we just acquired a parts distribution company, Mighty Auto Parts, last month.
I didn't know that. I don't think. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. We just closed out a month ago, so we have now access to buying tools direct through that program, which we're working with Aaron right now on all the tools he needs to teach that class. We can supply ourselves.
I think that is another area where you could have a huge impact on young people in just that financial education. You talked about not getting addicted to that monthly payment and having that tool truck. I always kind of joke around that some of those tool trucks, I believe, are just rolling AR machines, right? Like they just kind of keep rolling around to collect on their money. Being able to give that financial guidance and education early could really, I mean, you talk about impacting somebody's life. If you save them from spending tens of thousands of dollars on stuff that they don't need.
You don't need it.
Oh, I mean,
don't need it. And so the tool brands that we are using do not have a truck. They do have lifetime warranty. And they are a brand that, if it breaks, you just order another one online and it comes back to you. So I'm very purposeful on that to keep them, hopefully keep them out of those trucks.
And that brand is already in one of our stores.
It is.
So, and
yes,
the techs love it. So,
are you okay to say the brand?
It is Sonic Tools.
I kind of figured that's where you're going. I know Scott Saxton, a good group.
We've been working with Sonic when we started the university prior that we failed. So we're kind of reclaiming, those tools, and we're working hard with them to try to come up with something that works, long term. But we have other tool providers that, understand now that we have a university and they want to get involved as well. So obviously having Mighty now, we have an opportunity to go through our own brand. So we haven't landed on one particular, but Sonic's been fantastic. They've been a great partner for us. And I have a meeting with them, I think, next week to continue the conversation.
That's great. Aaron, going back to kind of the conversation about them being young people, I'm curious in how best to manage young people, right? And you're working with them every day. And I do see those generational gaps. I think it was funny. I was at a conference once, and the keynote speaker, had a big Time magazine cover up on the big board behind her, and so it listed off all of the complaints that the prior generation had about this generation, and it was entitled. It was all of this stuff that we commonly hear about Gen Zers, even millennials, still to this point. What was funny is when they pulled off the date on the cover, it was the generation prior to the baby boomers talking about baby boomers. So this is not a new thing, right? Like this has been happening probably since the beginning of existence. But how do you maybe bridge some of those generational gaps so there is more understanding?
Honestly, the best part is that we have a common interest. We can circle everything back to working on cars. We can circle everything back to the industry. And that really helps relate, because I'm old and they're young. We're all turning wrenches, we're all learning the same things. We're all working on the same stuff. So leaning on that is a big part of it.
That's good advice, and very true. I think if they have a passion for cars, that's a common purpose, common passion that makes it easier to have conversations. And I think younger people are then just more genuinely curious to learn maybe what that more experienced person has done.
And they have a passion for really dumb cars, honestly, but that's fine.
How does your relationship with the schools work? Are you talking with their administration? Are you talking with their teachers? Like, give me a little bit of an idea of Tom Wood University in partnership with these schools. How does that look?
Yeah, so the Pursuit Institute is the career center for Hamilton County, the county that we service. And I talk through them to talk to their schools. But I have access. I can talk to their guidance counselors. I even had a student's guidance counselor reach out to me a couple weeks ago, kind of explaining the situation. So yeah, I'm just like a teacher in the class. I can talk to their principals, guidance counselors. I can call their parents. It's great.
He even has a yardstick.
Do you see opportunities that could go beyond Hamilton County?
Yeah, I think so. I think we could. I think the expansion is as big as we want to make it, because there's a need and there's buy-in and there's interest.
And we are teamed up through Vincennes University for the core curriculum, and they are really excited and anxious. They've wanted to be in this space for a long time, and they just hadn't had the opportunity. So it's a good partnership with us. We're still working on some fine tuning, of that relationship. But we're getting close to kind of locking that down and being done. We also just were notified last week that Wesleyan University has an interest in what we're doing, and it's not as necessarily from a high school standpoint, but just a student standpoint of, is there some relationship there that we can partner up with Wesleyan University. So I mean, the word's getting out of what we're doing. And it's extremely gratifying and fun to see it come to life. There's a few things in my career that I'm really proud of, and this is one of them. And if we can lock arms with others, and we can lock arms with other universities and take their brilliance and Aaron's brilliance and bring it all together and make something really special, not just for the high school, but as I mentioned, I've asked Jeff Wood for a school, and I mean it, and he does too. If we can grow something bigger and grander, and you find this 23-year-old lost soul that's been in college and didn't like it, I don't know what I want to do, but he's really good with customers. He's really good, in IT or marketing, whatever. If we could find a platform to bring them through at no cost to them, and we invest in that individual in this community, what can we possibly do? What else can we do, to make Tom Wood the absolute best place to work? And here's why. So the word's getting out that we're doing it, and it's kind of cool.
And as you're talking through that, I'm like, what a natural progression for a lot of folks. And I think of like our friends at Northwood University as well, right? Like that might be a great,
Yes.
a great segue into something like that for one of those students that doesn't necessarily want to become technician, right? I think any of these students are so lucky because they're getting that base level of technical knowledge that they're going to be able to apply in whatever way they want to. And I don't know that I've ever met anybody in a dealership that got that technical education that it hasn't helped them down their career, right? Like once you get that base level, that is always going to be something that's going to help you out.
It's interesting. You mentioned Northwood. I hadn't thought of that. That is a great. That's a school I've not made it up to yet. I watch it. I listen to what they're doing, a little bit of what they're doing. But that might be another good.
It's a great program.
Yeah.
Great program. It serves our industry really, really well.
Good.
Interesting. I as you're looking through this, and then you had mentioned earlier too, expanding that to include service advisors, include salespeople. I want to talk about the service advisor piece and maybe the vision there, because, as we talk about making technicians' lives better, a good service advisor can make or break a technician, right? And so being able to actually adequately give them some education is hugely important, because how often do we hear in our industry that that advisor is oftentimes the one that gets ignored, right? Like they don't get the education. They're honestly, in my eyes, kind of taken for granted a lot of times throughout our industry. Having a path to where that you can give them adequate training, and it's not just shoving them out there and saying, good luck talking to customers. You know, there's something there.
So, yes, 100%. And we have fully documented a service advisor training plan. And we've been working on this for about, embarrassing, I'll say 3 to 4 years of really documenting what's the life of a service advisor. And we took the curriculum. I kind of laugh about it because I actually wrote and published a book years ago, like a long time ago. And it was getting back to the basics of being a service advisor. How do you, if people would ask me, how did you become a service advisor? And so I started documenting all this stuff, and I published a book, like I say, a long time ago. And it was, can't remember the title of it, Automotive Service Survival Kit. Was my name. And so I've pulled all of the curriculum from that book, and obviously a lot of updated stuff because we don't have beepers anymore. So I used to give my customers a beeper, and I would page you when I needed to talk to you. So there's stuff like that that's a little different. But we've taken the curriculum from that, and I've taken curriculum that I've gathered over the years from some great, mentors of mine, and we combine all of that, and we have written the Tom Wood process for service advisors. So I have shared that already with Rocket. They have access to it, and we're going to start pinching out curriculum that we can put on Rocket for our service advisors. And then I have Andrew, which was a 19-year service advisor at Audi, ranked #1 in the country like 3 times, loves training. So Andrew, I brought on my team 6 months ago as a service advisor coach. Andrew's now responsible for this process, which I gave it to him, said, now I want you to chew it up, spit it out, make it your way, but as long as it matches the framework of Tom Wood. He has been tasked now to start working on his coaching abilities and teaching abilities to be prepared. 2026, we're going to start holding classes once a month for our entry-level service advisors and training and coaching them up. So every week, him and I meet in an L10 meeting. I have a scorecard for him. He knows precisely which advisors are struggling and who he goes and spends time to. We want to develop that bigger and bigger and bigger into pulling a server from a hotel or a restaurant that I really like, and me hand that person over him. Now make him an advisor, make him whatever. And we have the process in place to do it. So we're close, and I'm excited to start launching that program next year.
I do want to give. Oh, sorry, Aaron. Go ahead.
Andrew's getting practice right now. He's watching my class.
So we've had Andrew watch his class even when Aaron was on vacation. Andrew ran the class. I put him through the Great Boss Workshop, which is an EOS workshop. Barry does an amazing job. We put all of our leaders through the Great Boss Workshop recently, and Andrew's reached out to Barry and asked for some guidance on better coaching styles and stuff. So he's preparing himself and investing in himself to hopefully pull this off in 2026. Man,
I did want to just give a special shout out to Rockad. Rockad's a partner of both of ours, and I don't know if they're getting desperate for on air talent, but they just had me out to New York to shoot some of these courses. So I was able to get on and record. What I'll say about them, very, very professionally done. They laid out the red carpet for me to do it. The amount of prep work they did in putting together the courses that they put out there, super impressed. Just a great company.
I've been fortunate enough to team up with them on the Rocket Booster. We've been working on that program for almost 6 months. We've test piloted 2 stores. I just signed up all of our locations on Rocket Booster. So they're hoping to go live market, I think late first quarter of next year. But again, if you have an advisor coach like, we do, Andrew gets a copy of that every week, and we can see where folk are struggling on whatever, selling tires, batteries, brakes, and then he can go in and work with them on the training of Rocket. So it's pretty super fantastic.
Last thing I'll mention, Aaron, do you have a beeper by chance? Like he was talking about a beeper.
I'm not sure I was alive.
He doesn't know what a beeper is.
I almost said no age jokes here, Aaron. No age jokes at all.
They worked.
Yeah, the beeper worked. I need to get a copy of this book somehow. I don't know if I can get an autographed copy or not, or if they're still around, but I want one of these books.
I'll see if I can find one.
All right.
I do have a briefcase up in my attic that I forgot the combination years ago, and I think it has some of them in it.
Have your picture in like the.
It does.
All right.
It does have a picture on the back. Yes.
All right.
They have different color hair.
I can't say anything. I'm going through that process as we speak right now. But no, I as we get closer to the end of this, I just want to say how excited I am to see where this leads to, how cool it is to see the progress that you guys have really that you've had so far. I mean, you had said a couple times, well, you've been working on this for 3 or 4 years, and I think the big piece of this is it doesn't happen overnight. What you've put together is something that it takes intentionality. It takes really understanding that you're not going to flip a switch and get the ROI on it immediately. But if you do this right, you are set up for years to come. And I just appreciate, Bill, I've told you this in the past, your, I think, different mindset and mentality to a lot of our industry in general. And this is a prime example of that, right? You're doing things that are setting the foundation for a healthier industry moving forward.
I'm still a student of the business. As old as I am, I just turned beepers into cell phones. It's fine. And robots.
I sent you a podcast that we did with Dave Anderson, the author Dave Anderson, right? And Dave always has something really nice to say about you. I've now really, I think we text back and forth all the time because he helps the Wisconsin Badger basketball team. So he's always checking in on that. And I think he was helping Indiana for a while. Great guy. We gave you a shout out on the podcast we did together. And that's been a cool relationship as well.
He is a gem of a guy. And if you're not listening to his podcast, you're missing out. He's one of my superheroes in life. I think he saved my life, and I've let him know that. He's just one of those guys that, he's a student of the business, and he's a guy I'm lucky enough to call a friend. Yeah,
he's one of the best. As are you, Aaron. We appreciate you taking time to join us today. Hopefully we can do another one of these in a year or so and kind of just track the progress. And to me, it would be really cool to look back and 5 or 10 years and kind of re-listen to these episodes. It'd be cool to kind of just get a progress meter each year of like, hey, this is how we're doing. But great work to you, and pretty awesome to see what you've put together here.
When we open up the school, you should come and do a live podcast of the ribbon cutting of our new school someday.
Yeah. I like that idea. And I will say, I was down there for your, what do you call it? It's like an awards banquet.
Yes.
Fixed Ops banquet was that spring? Is it
we have one in spring and one in fall. We just had our fall last week.
100% blown away. You had the robot delivering prizes out to people, money all over the place. It was just such a cool experience. I was really happy that you invited me down to it. That was a blast. And yeah, if we get an opportunity, once we cut that ribbon to be down there and do a podcast, that'd be pretty darn cool.
Yeah, it would be fun.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Hope to have you back on again sometime soon, and best of luck with everything with the school.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Jay.
That wraps up another episode of Beyond the Wrench. If you liked this episode, please show your support by rating and following the podcast. You can also watch the video interviews on WrenchWay's YouTube channel. Speaking of WrenchWay, did you know Beyond the Wrench is managed and produced by the WrenchWay team? WrenchWay is an online community dedicated to promoting and improving automotive and diesel careers. We help technicians find the best shops to work at, and we also help auto, diesel, and CTE instructors get more support from local industry. You can learn more by visiting wrenchway.com.